All right, we are set for a next episode of the Georgia Podcast. Rich Casanova here in the Pro Business Channel studios in our beautiful $1 billion Buckhead view at compliments of Serendipity Labs. And we have a great theme show actually set up for today. We're going to be talking all things health, fitness, finance. You want to lean in for this one. This is going to be a good one. Our first guest joining us in the studio will be Dr. Cherie Gallant, and we're going to be talking about corporate wellness and all kinds of great stuff in the workplace involving chiropractic and other health issues that you should be tuned into and dialed into. But before we get to that, we're also joining us in the studios, Warren Cargill. He's the clinic director for Acupuncture Atlanta. Warren, what are we to be hearing from you today?
You're going to be hearing all about the mitochondria, which are the powerhouses of the cell and give you all of your energy.
That's a good teaser. So we'll do that in our third segment here. Also joining a longtime friend, Fadi Malouf. Fadi, welcome back. You were in our original studio way back in the day.
Yes, this is quite of an upgrade.
We did quite a bit, right? Thanks. So, Fadi, what are you going to be sharing with us today?
I'm going to share with you guys a little bit about wellness technology and benefits and how it has impacted our companies in the U.S.
So, wellness and tech.
Yes.
Those are hot topics.
Wellness technology and benefits. Okay.
And actually, real quick, Warren, how would folks find you guys online?
They would go to wcargal.com.
Okay. Cool. And Fadi?
Wellplanus.com.
All right, so check that out. So stay tuned for those guys coming in our second and third segment. First of all, again, Dr. Cherie Gallant is joining us here in the studio. You're a doctor of chiropractic and a master of sports science. And you have more than 6 years of practice and success in treating counseling thousands of patients with pain resulting from various syndromes. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Thanks, Rich. Thanks so much for having me. So I graduated from chiropractic school in 2013, and I began practice in Cleveland, Ohio. And the type of practice I kind of fell into was workers' comp. So everyone here's workers' comp, big eye roll.
Right.
Okay, I can see y'all. I can see everybody, okay? And so I got to see kind of like, the dirty and the ugly parts of workers' comp. I mean, everyone has to have it, and it's a necessary evil. And by its very nature, it's very adversarial between the employee and the employer. However, there's just so many different ways and different programs we can implement to make that less adversarial and less ugly, if you will. And so when I was practicing, I just saw these people going through the system, and because of the attitudes on both sides,
right.
They just, by the time they got to me, they were broke down, busted, and disgusted. And sometimes like some people had multiple surgeries and it still wasn't corrected. You were having people settle after 10 years on a claim, because literally there's nothing else you could do for them. And so whereas if there had been a little bit of prevention to begin with,
right.
It would have been amazing, and this person, their life would have, in comparison, would be so much better. And it's my passion is transforming corporate America and the modern day workplace to alleviate these problems.
That'd be a great title for a book. What was that? Broke Down?
Busted and Disgusted.
That's a great book title right there. If you haven't already put that together. So also, now you're originally from Prince Edward Island, Canada.
Yes.
So you came the furthest to travel to the studio today, right?
Yes. So I'm considered American, born abroad.
Okay.
My mom's American.
Right.
And I moved to the States officially in 2004 to go to college, and I've just been slowly migrating further south.
You're going to be in Key West pretty soon.
Oh, my Lord. Well, I think I really love Atlanta, so I think I'm good for now. I've moved probably I want to say maybe 15 times in the last 20 years.
Are the authorities after you or something?
No, it's just been kind of one of those things where I
Sounds like a military family, yeah, right?
Kind of, just grad school and college.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so ironically, we had some folks in from Toronto that flew in from Toronto, Canada yesterday, was in the studio, so I'll introduce you all later.
Perfect.
So let's go back to this. Talk to us about the effectiveness of corporate wellness programs. What have you seen there that you've seen some results, or what are some either pushbacks, or why is it such a hot topic, or why are companies kind of drawn to that? That was about a 5-part question, by the way.
No problem. So one thing right now, one of the major issues that I'm personally in my business life I'm combating is the fact that, you ask people if they have a wellness program, they want wellness initiatives, and they say, yes, we already have that. Well, what do you have? They have blood pressure screenings, they have weight checks, blah, blah, blah. And there's no follow-up, there's no treatment for it. It's just basically to have it, to say they have it. And there's no intrinsic value for it, yet they're paying millions upon millions of dollars. Wow. And it's literally just going out the back door. I mean, if you just want to waste money, I'll take it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But no, so the programs that work are ones that actually change the workplace, workspaces, and your employees' behaviors and actual health.
So what are some of those examples of effective corporate wellness programs?
Sure. Well, I mean, being a chiropractor, the obvious one is chiropractic in the workplace.
Duh.
So there's been a few kind of case studies done. There was a Anheuser-Busch manufacturer and distributor up in Michigan, and they brought on a chiropractor once a week for the entire plant. And after once a week for a little over a year, their workers' comp costs went down by 88%.
Wow.
Their injury
Done
rate.
Deal.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
And their injury rate, 50%. So what's the problem? So that's a huge one right there. Stretching programs. There's a study that highlights a firehouse in Ontario, and they implemented a stretching program. So every firefighter in the house did the same stretching program once a day for an entire year. After a year, their injury rate went down to almost 0%.
You should put your chiropractic office here at 3 Alliance Building. Yeah, there's tons of people here. You just have it in the lobby.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing about my business is it's bringing wellness to the workplace. So everyone's at work from 9 to 5. No one wants to do anything after work unless it's for their family, their friends, or they just
drinking. Yeah.
Well, a little
bourbon tasting. Yeah, wine tasting. Yeah.
We all got to relax somehow. No judgment. But no. So whenever you have an issue and you have to go elsewhere, and especially, I'm located here in Atlanta, Georgia, and we all know, God forbid you have to leave work to go somewhere, you may as well just take off a half a day because it takes you that long to get anywhere. So why not bring those wellness programs in-house to the people where they already are? You get a 9 to 5, they get the care they need, and the employer saves a ton of money.
So you have a teaser announcement here about some product launches and events coming up?
Yes. Okay. So I just redid my website, and we just did a soft launch. So it's called Workplace Wellness Daily. So you can log on to my website, www.workwellforlife.com, and you can go to videos, and you can subscribe for $17.99 a month. And you can just have access to all these individual videos. So everything from stretches, exercises, wellness tips, book reviews, product reviews, anything that's related or relevant to the wellness space. I'm also speaking at it's called Impact Conference later this month, the 27th and 28th. And for that, you can go to www.impact4pconference.com.
And tell us a little bit about that conference. What's the who's the audience there, and how often does it happen, or what's the backstory?
So this is a conference put on by actually my very own business coach, Miss Jean Marlowe Davis. So
Shout out to Jean.
Love her. So she puts on this conference every year. So basically, it's a place where people can come, get re-energized rather, and just get excited about life, but also breaking things down. So how to improve your life, your power, your passion, and put that into actual actions that's going to improve the quality of your life. So Jean is a former IRS auditor, so she focuses a lot on, the taxes, the financial wellness.
I was connected to that until then. That's a story. We're going to have to do a follow-up on that one.
Right.
Yeah.
So my part of it is your health is your wealth.
Yeah.
So it's all about, teaching people how to put, your health in a place of priority in your life, so that way you can also facilitate your wealth goals, because your health is your wealth. If you are, again, broke down, busted, and disgusted, and you're just you feel crappy, your health is poor. One, that's a lot of money going to the insurance, to doctor's visits, things like that. And then not only that, but you don't have any energy for anything else when you really do want, even if it's a recreational activity.
Yeah, Fadi was given 2 thumbs up for that one, talking about physical and financial wellness, right? All right. So we're going to do some more follow-up roundtable discussion on this topic of corporate wellness and your events you're talking about. So what's a call to action, or one more time, how would people find you online?
Sure. So my website is workwell4life.com, and you can follow me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at Dr. Cherie Gallant. And also, I'm going to be putting out some new products, maybe some webinars and other items like that. And you can also come check me out at the Impact Conference.
Sweet. All right, we'll be there. We'll be on the front row. Yeah.
Awesome.
And
I'll hold you to that.
Front row. We'll do editing afterwards. I can fix that real easy. Right? And you're also on Instagram. I don't see Snapchat on here or whatever. Yeah. But
no, I'm sorry. I'm not super tech savvy, and Snapchat is just far.
No, I'll pass on that too. Yeah. No offense to Snapchat, but they're not sponsoring the shows. So I think we're good on that one. Yeah. All right. So Cherie, thanks again for that segment here, and stay tuned for some follow-up conversations on that. Let's turn our attention now to Fadi Malouf. And so Fadi, we've known your background as a personal trainer, life coach, international professional athlete, speaker, author. Dude, you make me feel look like a slacker or whatever. I'm like, wow. So before we get into what's new, elaborate a little bit on that, of some of the people you've worked with or some of the type of business that you've been involved in the past. Yeah.
Well, kind of piggyback off of Dr. Cherie here. I've seen a lot of individuals spend their life to build their wealth and then spend their wealth to regain their health. So as she stated, from the first wealth is health, and started out with personal training at the age of 17, and from one thing to another, I led to finance, and I found a very common theme between physical fitness and financial wellness.
Yeah, so in addition to being the author of Strong, the New Fit, so now this is like the new fitness, or new financial fitness, right? So this is a new initiative for you. So talk to us about, you mentioned earlier the health and the tech space. So elaborate on that a little bit.
Sure. So I'm actually working on another book, and I would say the theme is to help people fast-track their freedom.
I like that one. That's a good title right there. Yeah, write that one down.
Yeah.
Fast-track your freedom.
Yeah. So I'm connecting the health and wealth through daily habits. And so starting from kind of top level and looking to make the biggest impact, I'm working with companies from 10 employees to over 10,000. And using wellness technology platforms that are able to kind of keep track of what employees are doing. I mean, where do we spend most of our day? At work. Right. So where is the better place to address adult behavior? At work. So workplace wellness works.
Thank you, Patty.
I think we just formed a partnership. I want in on the percentage here, whatever. Yeah.
We'll edit that out in post too.
For legal reasons. She's got her attorney on the phone right now. Yeah.
So I really like the technical detail of the process of addressing adults' behavior and using benefits to reward employees, reward good behavior. I mean, I'm a Middle Eastern man. I mean, no matter how good I did, I never got a compliment. I just got, take it to the next level. You need to do whatever you need to do next to be better. I mean, I remember taking a shower. Like, I would get out of the shower, and my mother would say, "You smell. Go back up, take up another shower."
Wow.
So
try hot water and soap, whatever. Yeah, I'm not an expert, but yeah.
So I kind of grew up with just being flogged into performing. But in this day and age, really kind of focusing on rewards and building on wins is what's working for individuals.
Talk to us about what's involved in cultivating a healthy, energetic, and a happy culture, because that's a challenge with businesses a lot of times, right? Is that sometimes you go into a business, you can literally feel the energy, positive or negative, right?
Yeah, I think that reminds me right away of Simon Sinek, book The Why,
right? Yeah,
and what a company does, or I should say, why a company does what they do,
right?
And
start with why.
Yeah, employees being on the same page. So knowing why they do things. For me, I went through a very challenging time as a young kid, losing my dad at the age of 17. And I wanted to survive. That was my why.
Right.
And some people, a lot of times, that's how they feel like they just want to survive. So back to answer your question, the how kind of starts to come out, and then what And answering those 3 questions are really important for a company, but most companies are not on the same page with that. So it comes out with how people are, what they're doing for their physical daily routines,
right,
and how they're eating, how they're interacting with people, and then how well they manage their money. So it all shows up at some point.
Right.
It surfaces up. You can't hide from it.
So how does it, is there what's next as far as what's the next step here, the next logical progression? Are you talking about technology involving an app or a platform for businesses and individuals to monitor or measure their financial fitness? Or
So there's tons of wellness technologies out there, and for companies, they're not sure what's the best wellness technology to use. And also to marry that with benefits such as healthcare, health insurance, retirement, and so forth. So their companies are looking to marry those 2 platforms together so they get the best results in helping their employees be healthy, happy, and energetic.
Now, as part of that, you just shared with me earlier in the week, and I completed the health awareness form or whatever, right?
Health assessment. That was
assessment. Is that part of the mix or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, we've provided tons of different types of health assessments, and so that's one way to kind of benchmark an individual's health, so they can be aware of where they're at and where they can improve in their life. So that's we shared my experience with that. So it was on one side, it was kind of robust and in depth. People have these short attention spans these days, right? Right.
But on the other hand, it just wasn't surface level either, right?
Right.
And one of the observations I walked away with that is that, it was starting to get. I didn't realize how far along I was getting, and I started to look at the bar, how many categories I had to hit. I mean, I had to hit from family history of health issues to my personal daily routine, not just diet, but what do I normally do on a regular basis. And it was a bit awakening, but I felt like I scored a pretty good score of like 82, whatever. I'm not sure if I was cheating or not, because I thought that was kind of a high score for, what I could do better, right?
Sure. I mean, at the end of the day, you just answered it. I can do better.
Right,
so it's just building more awareness for you. And if you were to get a more accurate reading, you could do the DNA test. Okay. And there's an artificial intelligence that syncs up your history, your daily, your habits, and incorporating a DNA test. So some blood work there will definitely help it as well. Get an accurate reading.
Are we taking a blood sample right now?
Sure.
I wasn't prepared for that, yeah. All right, so we're going to continue this conversation with the panel here in just a minute. So Fadi, what's the call to action? How would folks, learn more about what you're offering?
Sure. Wellplanus.com is a great site to visit to get an idea of what we offer and helping companies get a really awesome ROI on their investment. But I would say most companies come to get an ROI, but then they realize there's no way to track that, because the benefit of that, as Dr. Cherie mentioned, it is substantially much higher. So wellplanus.com is the best way to reach us.
All right, we'll check that out and stay tuned for some follow-up questions and maybe a blood test involved. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how things go, yeah. All right, so our third guest joining us in the studio, as we mentioned, is Warren Cargill. He's the clinic director of Acupuncture Atlanta. So you're a licensed acupuncturist. That's a tough word to say, right? Sometimes it can be, right? So herbalist, clinic director, as I mentioned. And you practiced Chinese medicine for over 20 years. That's interesting. In the fields of infertility, chronic disease conditions, you maintain an active clinical practice in Atlanta. So elaborate a little bit more on this background of the Chinese medicine before we get into the Q&A here.
Sure. Rich, thanks very much for having me.
Absolutely,
yeah. So, Chinese medicine's been around for 2,500 years, and it has a rich legacy there. And it has bearing on what's happening today in health, on maintaining our health. So we would use some of the formulas that have been around for 1,500 years. Like a typical formula would be Xiao Yao San. And that's for...
Pardon me? It sounds French to me. Xiao Yao San.
Xiao Yao San translates as relaxed wonder. So for people who are really stressed, this is a really appropriate formula. But that's the part about the the Chinese medicine. So we have like 4 acupuncturists in the clinic. We have 2 chiropractors. Basically, we are practice orientated. We see a lot of individuals every day. We're probably the largest clinic here in Georgia.
Oh. And so before we talked about some of the Q&A here, what's the biggest misnomer about acupuncture?
Well,
right, there's probably a few of them, right? Maybe give me a rapid fire list of them. Yeah,
those needles hurt.
Right.
That's going to be But let me dispel that one really quickly. They're about the size of a hair.
Okay.
The needles, and they're solid. They're not hollow needles like a normal syringe.
Okay.
So most people don't even feel them. Other people may feel something like a little mosquito bite.
Okay.
Okay.
So I've never, I don't know if you all have. We'll come back to this in a second, but I've never experienced that. So, I mean, even in 2019, being in the Western civilization, there's a lot of people that think, I don't really believe in that. I don't see how that, putting a needle in me is going to make a difference, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you answer those type of questions?
Well, I mean, it's just like with Dr. Cherie, and Fadi over here. I mean, there's our healthcare system is broken, fundamentally broken. And, there's all these applications out there that are really profoundly helpful. So we help a lot of people with like simple things like back pain or, sinus congestions, which everybody is suffering from that right now.
Oh, big time, yeah.
Yeah, and they're just simple things. And either with acupuncture or Chinese medicine, it works,
I feel like, I don't know if it's other people's experience, but my allergies, I've never had an issue growing up. I mean, in Florida and other parts of the country I lived in, but in the last 3 or 4 years, it seemed to get worse each year.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep. I mean, there's a lot of environmental factors that are driving that, other than just there's more trees out there who are pollinating.
Right. So one of the questions which I think is intriguing to the listeners is your first question, talking about healthy aging. So, there's a lot of not just baby boomers. What's the other, Gen X? You don't hear about these guys anymore, right? But these are in terms of corporate wellness, the Gen X are the folks that are really in the throngs of their career, right? So talk to us about, from, I guess, both of those perspectives, or when does healthy aging begin?
Well, I mean, at some point you start thinking, I'm starting to age. You look in the mirror in the morning.
Like rut-row.
I'm starting to age. And, the fundamental question, which, my book, Your Mitochondria, Key to Health and Longevity, is about, is like how to age gracefully and how to have a long, healthy life. I don't mean a long life where you're, in a retirement home having people care for you, but how to have a long, healthy,
productive and
life.
Engaged. Yeah,
that's right. That's what all of us want here. And there's various ways that we can do that. And one of the most fundamental ways is, which is what I'm advocating, is how to take, your health back into your own hands, how to take control of your own health. Is what's important for me, and that's what we advocate in the clinic. Yeah,
because you mentioned a broken health system. A lot of times people just, I remember there was a commercial years ago that was, I think, for a cell phone commercial. The person go to the cell phone store, ask them 30 questions. How do I get my signal? How strong is it? What's my battery life? What's the plan? And 20 questions, and then didn't go into the doctor's office and didn't have a clue what to ask.
That's right.
So, and I think that's probably part of the problem, yes or yes, is that we rely on those professions to take the lead. You're saying we'd be in the driver's seat and be proactive about our own health.
Look, I mean, we see so many people that come into the clinic, they're dealing with cancer and things like that, and they have no idea what's going on.
Right.
I mean, they are just, whatever the doctor is going to recommend. And it's, fundamentally sad. Like there are profound things that you can do with your health, with your food, with acupuncture, with herbs, that can be adjuvant therapies or standalone therapies.
Because what always drives me crazy, too, is you see these commercials for these medicines, and that's this happy music, and these people are at the beach or whatever, and then it's 10 seconds about the product, and the other 30 seconds is about all the side effects. And when they say side effects, mainly the blindness, death, whatever, right, suicide.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you listen to that and then go buy that?
Yeah, well, that's a question here, a really great question, and
Thank you. That was not even on the notes. Yeah.
And people are really, they want to feel well. It's like they want to do whatever they can to feel well, and there's not options out there. They don't see options that they can take care of themselves.
And we talked about the Gen X and the baby boomers, but the new generation, they're probably more open to some of these ideas, right? Yes or no? Or
we don't. I really track how the age group that show up in the clinic.
All right.
And occasionally, the population is not young people so much.
Right.
It's starting at around 30,
right.
Or if there's infertility problems, we'll get a younger person in, but generally not.
A younger person. I was doing the math on that younger person for infertility. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So talk to us about you mentioned looking in the mirror. So what is skin wrinkles, and what can you do about that? Is there a cure for that?
So I'm going to try to really compress this question here.
Okay.
So it's the mitochondria that drive the skin wrinkling, and it's also the mitochondria that drive the age-related diseases such as cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and neurodegeneration. When I say neurodegeneration, I'm talking about like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's. So, and no one knows what the mitochondria are.
You've mentioned mitochondria a few times. So, for layman's terms, what does that mean?
Mitochondria are... It's
got a lot of syllables in it. But
right. Mitochondria are often, they're organelles, which means small bodies. And they reside in our cells, and they fundamentally supply all the energy to move our muscles. Like when I'm moving my muscle, that's using mitochondria to move that. So let me just, one other point here. So what happens is people typically, I'm ingesting food, the food is broken down into nutrients, and after that, it just kind of drops off the map about, okay, what's happening? How is that, what's happening there? It's, without the mitochondria, without your mitochondria, you would not be alive. It's just that fundamental. And people don't know about that.
Yeah, well, I want to get the opinion of our other panel here in a second on that topic. So talk to us about the number one cause most age-related diseases that no one's talking about.
Well, it's the mitochondria.
Oh, we gave the clue right there. Yeah. So I like when the professor gives you the clue within the conversation or the answer, whatever. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, but and the question is how to take care of your mitochondria during, for this long life that you want to have, long, healthy life.
Okay, and a couple more rapid-fire questions before we open it up to the panel here. So 3 simple ways to extend your life. We've been talking about healthy aging.
Yep, so I'm sitting here right now, and the mitochondria are like little engines, and they require oxygen. So when I'm sitting at my desk, there's hypoxia occurring, shallow breathing, right?
Right.
And that affects the mitochondria. So that's number one. Number 2 is mild exercise. If you're doing vigorous exercise, that's perfect, but at least you got to move, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. Third thing is, and this is the really big one, the mitochondria can either use sugars or they can use fats to make ATP, the energy source, right?
Okay.
So for every unit of sugar you ingest, you're going to get 2 units of energy out, right?
Huh. So take in more sugar is what you're saying?
Okay, here's the big one. For every unit of fat you ingest,
right.
good quality fats,
right.
How many do you think you're going to get? How
3.
many?
3.
How about 32?
Wow. That seems counterintuitive.
It's amazing.
Right?
It's amazing. So like if you're talking about energy, long life, health, and cognitive function, you really want to put some focus on your diet and really put those sugars down.
And add more fat to your diet.
Good quality fat. So we're talking about avocados. We're talking about olive oil. We're talking about could be fats from fish.
Okay.
Could be even fats from red meat. It's just a good quality fat. When I say fats from red meat, I mean they're not loaded with antibiotics and steroids.
Okay, you mentioned about sitting, and although we're sitting at the desk right here, I'm a big proponent of. Years ago, somebody told me if you Google just this phrase like sitting too long, it's scary what comes up, right? And so we have at home and here we have standing desk. Mm-hmm. And if I'm working remotely at a Starbucks, whatever, I'll intentionally find a Starbucks that has a standing place, and I'll stand there and work the entire day.
Yeah.
And
sitting is fun. Like if you're going to sit, you're dying.
They say it's the new cancer or the new smoking, right?
And especially for the mitochondria, they need that oxygen.
Okay, we'll have a stand-up conversation after the show here, right? So, all right. So Warren, how would folks find you online? What's your call to action? All that good stuff.
Yep. So, I'm out there on Facebook and all the other places. We have large followings. We do podcasts. But you can find me at wcargill.com, and then our main website is acuatlanta.net.
Awesome. So thanks again. It's our pleasure having you all here. So we're going to open it up to our show guests here one more time, a little roundtable discussion, and also one more call to action. How would folks find you? So show of hands, who would like to, any questions on the short list here you have for your fellow guest? 3, 2, 1. Yeah.
No pressure.
Cherie, yeah.
No pressure. So I guess for Fadi, so what type of technology do you offer the businesses or employers? Is it something that you implement yourself, or is it something that they purchase and then they implement on their own?
Great question, Dr. Cherie. We actually do not provide a software platform. I'm a consultant. I discover what the client is looking for, and I go looking for it and make it happen for the client. So it starts out with surveying their employees and their interest and how they want to reward their employees.
Cool. Other follow-up questions here? Warren, Fadi? You've been taking a lot of notes here. I'm looking at you.
I have actually questions for both, but Warren, I've experienced acupuncture once before. Mm-hmm. And could you, I was, my eyes closed and I started seeing colors. Rainbows.
Are you sure that was acupuncture?
Yeah, I was like,
sign me up for that one.
Yeah. So I think that'd be kind of nice to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, there are all these little interesting sensations that do occur and have been recorded for the 2,500 years of the legacy there. So, and colors would be one of them. But people sometimes just go right to sleep and they report it was the best sleep they've ever had.
Wow.
So, colors, that's. Let's see how to put that to you. The colors have to do with a relaxing of the endocrine system, and so then you would start, having this experiences of colors and greater relaxation.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Good. Thank you for that question.
You bet.
And not to get too much minutia here, but I've never had that. Have you done acupuncture?
I haven't.
Cherie?
I haven't actually had acupuncture done to me. I've had dry needling, which is a completely separate experience.
Dry needling. That's painful.
It can be. However, it is quite effective. But yes, so no, I have not had actual acupuncture. I have had experience with dry needling, which is kind of like a subset of acupuncture. Very effective, but not for the faint of heart.
Okay, that's good to know.
or the squeamish.
So I'm going with the regular one. So I don't know if this is a fair question, even how to phrase it, but how does a needle going in to you affect your the health outcome from that? Is that like with chiropractic, it's based on subluxations, right, and the spine alignment and all the nerves connected, right?
Okay, so there's a couple different schools of thought, but the evidence-based model, meaning this is what we know as of today, current anatomy and current physiological science. So basically, there's not a bone out of place. It's not you're misaligned. So essentially, your joints, of which you have hundreds in your body,
right,
they become fixated. They stop moving, and so that causes irritation and inflammation. And so then it overwhelms your central nervous system.
Right.
So when you adjust, you optimize the joint motion, then you're allowing your central nervous system to function optimally.
To flow, yeah.
Right. And then you're also getting the endorphins secreted from your brain. Your brain signals your muscles to relax. So you're moving better, you feel better, and you're actually able to function better. So yeah, there's not like an actual misalignment, but yes.
Yeah. My brother's a chiropractor. My dad was a chiropractor. His brother was a chiropractor. My cousin Ray, my cousin Nancy is a chiropractor. So I know a lot about chiropractic, but I couldn't play one on the radio. But yeah. So back to this needle thing, right?
Yes.
So how do you explain it in layman's terms of putting that into your skin, which is the largest organ, right? Mm-hmm. But is that affecting your cells or your nerve system that is supplying blood flow to the right organs for the benefit?
It's affecting principally the endocrine system, which then causes increased blood flow. If there's inflammation, then you want to have increased blood flow to move out some of the inflammation. So it's definitely affecting the endocrine system there. That would be the first place, but there's other physiological physiological factors that are going on too. Look, let me just say this. This is an ongoing debate in a 2,500-year tradition.
Right.
And, one of the central questions is like, how did these guys ever come up with these
that's
points?
a good point, too. Whatever, yeah. I leaned into a needle. Yeah. Oh, I feel better, yeah. Let's do more of that. Right? I mean, sometimes things do come up, but there's, when you look at anything that has, we're not talking about like putting leeches on people, and that didn't work out so well, right? Or brain surgery, they actually did a drill. This is something, like you said, a few thousand years, and just because it's not normal to our culture doesn't mean it's not effective, right? So we got a couple minutes left, and I got just one last question, but if anyone has some additional follow-up questions as well, feel to chime in. I think Fadi or somebody mentioned about the DNA testing. Mm-hmm. So what are the panel thoughts on that? What's the yin and yang of that? What's the benefit? What can you do with that analysis? I mean, what's
So I've got a comment about that.
Okay. Okay. So this is our comment question segment right now. Yeah.
So like DNA. I mean, they spent big bucks on DNA back in the 80s to try to unravel what the DNA was, so they could come up with a cure for cancer.
Okay.
After all that research, there was no cures. So you have to look at DNA like a gun, where the trigger is pulled back,
right,
and it's the environment that pulls the trigger. So, whatever's going on in the environment, whether it's your lifestyle, whether it's the food, whether it's toxins you're eating, that's what's, triggering this. So you may have a gene for diabetes, you may have a gene for cancer, but it's the environment that's going to pull the trigger.
Yeah, because in the health assessment, Fadi had me take, I think one of the things was, are you a smoker? But I said, obviously no. But then it said, are you in an environment with smoking, right? And that secondhand smoke, there's a reason why that became such an issue, right? So, but the topic DNA or any other topics, yeah. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the DNA is, to be honest with you, it's new for me.
Okay.
I'm exposed to so many different types of assessments. I have not taken all of them. Luckily, I grew up in a household where mom cooked food at home.
Right.
It's always real food, and it's really not that complicated. Just eat real food and move every day. So my job is I deal newly with a lot of data, and most people are overweight and in debt, and that's the product of, unfortunately, the U.S. We have this major issue, and like as Warren said, we're broken in that area. But it's really a simple fix, and one thing I can do to encourage the audience: if you're going to be spending a lot of time on your phone or some type of technology, download this app. I don't work for them, and I'm not sponsored, but it's called Rescue Time. And it will tell you where you're spending most of your time when you're playing with your phone. I encourage you to download some type of health and fitness app and spend more time on that one as opposed to Instagram and Twitter
or Snapchat.
or Snapchat. And just start monitoring where you're spending your time and where you're spending your money. And all of a sudden, you'll know where your future is going to head.
Yeah, both financially and health-wise. You mentioned about diet. We had a really fascinating interview with this person, really in depth on the whole food plant-based diet, which I think is a version of a vegan. But people, when you say vegan, people like, oh, they do one of these or whatever, right? But just listening to this conversation, I was so sold on the whole idea. It was just amazing, the premise of it. And so, I mean, what are your all thoughts on, and kind of a second, well, I'll do that first as far as the, the vegan lifestyle or whole, red meat, those arguments,
right.
Right?
So, I mean, my personal belief is that not everything works for everyone.
Okay.
So personally speaking, I mean, I've done the keto diet and I felt horrible. I can't even tell you. I wanted to crawl in a hole and die.
Oh, wow.
So, and now and ironically, I grew up on a beef farm, so I ate beef like 3 times a day. It was intense. So now as I've, now
3 times a day. Yeah.
Oh yeah, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But now that I'm in my early 30s, I've transitioned more to a plant-based diet. So a lot, more carbs, plants, things like that. And I'd still eat some meat, but a little bit. And I feel the best I've ever felt. Whereas some people, might do wonderfully on the keto diet.
Right.
So I think everyone kind of has to play around with what works best for them And it's also important to note, just because it worked for you in your 20s does not mean it's going to work in your 30s or your 40s or your 50s. It just, your body's ever changing. And, like Warren mentioned, you may have a gene for something, but it's the way that your body ends up expressing that gene and the environment that may trigger it. So there's just a lot of different factors. But definitely play around, see what works for you, and don't feel like you have to do something just because it's popular at the time.
It's interesting. You mentioned those decades of your life, so it's just not from the fitness or the health, but from the finance. You shouldn't be having the financial, free will that you do in your 20s and 30s. Once you get a certain age, you need to think differently in terms of your finances, right? That money's not going to last forever, or your expenses start adding up more bills and more responsibilities, and you're still financially probably acting as you did in a different decade or generation, right?
Sure. It keeps changing, and it evolves. Health and fitness and finance, it's a daily habit. It's what you do on an ongoing basis, and it's good to expose yourself, teach yourself, try new things, and see how they respond, how your body respond to it. And that also works with your finances. So many people have done certain things for their to build wealth. For instance, I started investing in the market when I was 25 passively,
right?
And in the last 6-7 years, I've taken over. I manage it myself.
Wow!
And since then, I have a completely different perspective on money. I've ultimately, as Warren said, taken control.
Yep.
Not just your health, but your finances really makes a huge impact. Again, spending more time learning more about money, how it works,
right,
and your health. You're gonna see results. It's just where you're. Again, I hate to talk about time, but most people, that's where they spend.
I like that rescue time app.
Rescue time. Again, I'm not getting paid to work. It's just something that I use because I lost track of time. I lost track of what I'm doing. I keep it on my computer, on all my devices, and I monitor every week. I get a report and see where I'm spending my time.
Well, it makes sense if you're monitoring. We talk about a health topic here. If you're monitoring your fitness routine and what you're eating as a diet, should be monitoring, your income outcome in terms of money and time.
A way to journal things. Food journal. Most people don't have a lot of people don't have a budget, and they don't know what they're spending on a daily basis. So, journaling is. You guys may have heard of quantum physics. The moment you look at something, it starts to change, and over time, things transform. Literally, just by watching and monitoring.
Wow. That's a little heavy.
It's called the observer effect.
Correct.
Okay. There you go. Yeah.
Hey, I've got something I want to add about plant-based food.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to give a plug for my forthcoming book on the microbiome, which is all the bacteria that live on your body and in your body. But the issue is, what Dr. Cherie was addressing, was that our consumption of fiber, which is so fundamental for our health and well-being, is down about 60% across the board.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Fiber. And fiber, it gets fermented in the large intestines and produces short-chain fatty acids, which are profound in their health benefits. So really, the suggestion here is to avoid those center aisles in the grocery store because that's where all the heavily processed foods are, and you want to be eating close to the ground.
Right? Close to the ground. Yeah, for sure.
Is that right, guys?
Yeah. And to add to that, only about 2% of the population consume enough potassium.
Wow.
And that's an important
more
factor.
Bananas.
Right. That's one, but it's not the highest form of potassium.
What's a higher source than that? Not alfalfa, but I think one of those, the green leafies.
Broccoli has a high,
banana has about 400 milligrams
or kale.
of potassium.
You can always throw in kale. That's a new thing on it, right?
It is important to note, though, if you are going to try to supplement individually, though, with different supplements in your diet, you have to be careful, especially if you're already taking medications. There are a lot of supplements out there that are really helpful when used appropriately.
Right.
However,
but don't interact with...
Well, one thing, I recommend turmeric to most of my patients and clients, and one caveat is if you're on blood pressure medication or diabetic medication, it has the effect of lowering your blood pressure and lowering
the opposite.
Yeah, your blood sugar. It's helpful, but if you take it in combination, you might be on the floor. So you just have to be careful. But supplementation with food, also with actual supplements, is really helpful. Just always consult your healthcare provider before starting anything new.
Turmeric is a Chinese herb, just to throw that in. It's called Wang Qi.
Oh, okay.
Turmeric?
Turmeric.
Yeah.
Now it's called Wanchi.
Yeah.
Wanchi.
Okay.
I'm going to have that for dinner tonight, yeah. So we're a little bit over, but I was going to, talking about food and so forth, gluten. Is that trendy? Is that a real thing? I mean, what's like Jerry Seinfeld, what's the deal with gluten? Yeah.
So gluten is a protein found in wheat, barley, and rye. And some people have difficulty either digesting it and or they have an immunoresponse to that protein. Some people think it's just a fad. You know, there's a lot of jokes out there. A lot of comedians do a routine on it. It is a real thing. Just because you don't have celiac disease where it actually destroys the intestinal lining and your stomach lining doesn't mean you don't have an intolerance or a sensitivity to it. Everyone has different reactions to it. I'm personally gluten-free. I've been gluten-free for almost 9 years now, and I used to have horrific joint pain. I went gluten-free and it changed my life. There's lots of people who have similar stories. But I mean, the thing is, if it creates inflammation in your body and you feel like you want to try to reduce inflammation, it's never a bad thing.
Yeah, because Warren was talking about healthy aging. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but these things we're talking about, right now, talking about gluten, can that, you may not have an incident earlier in age, but in later in age, that becomes an issue. And what are some symptoms that you might say, this is a red flag, maybe I need to reduce or eliminate gluten? What are some things you might be experiencing?
Pain.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what type of pain? We're not talking like
joint pain.
Joint pain, like
people
GI
describe it
pain.
as they often describe it as like inside the bone.
Right.
Like there's something like
chronic.
in there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like deep rooted, deep
so if you
seated.
like your neck goes always, my neck is
so it's
always
not a
bothered.
digestive kind of thing.
Well,
It can be.
It can be, yeah.
It is, but it manifests itself differently. Some people have joint pain, sometimes have weight loss, weight gain, constipation, other things. Also, rashes are really common, weird rashes.
Because what's that thing we're talking about digestion? What's that? The acronym or the term?
IBS.
Yeah, IBS. Yeah.
There's also leaky gut.
Leaky gut, IBS.
Talk to us about that.
Okay, so
irritable bowel syndrome, right?
Okay, yeah. Let me give a little bit more information here. So, what you have to know is that man has been eating grain for probably as long as Chinese medicine, right?
Right.
So, what's the deal?
That's my line, Warren. Yeah, easy there, buddy. Yeah.
So, why is this, sensitivity? When you start looking at longitudinal studies, what we find is back in 1972, Monsanto introduced Roundup.
Right. Okay.
Roundup is, has a profound effect on gluten in wheat. And it actually breaks up the endothelial lining in the gut, which causes leaky gut is not a medical term. It's
right.
like but it causes leakage in the gut for toxins to begin to migrate out into the body and drive inflammatory processes. So the issue here is that, really being clean with your food. Like Dr. Cherie stopped eating it, then she noticed that her symptoms clear up, And that's really an appropriate response for taking your health back into your own hands.
You really hit on a great point because, that's the thing. I think the perception about, why am I eliminating gluten? It's been around since, the stone met the wheat barley or whatever, right?
Yep.
And grinding it up. But it's the process. It's the processed version of bread and so forth that we're eating because a lot of times, I think pizza, for example, gets a bad rap. People thinking, oh, you're eating a pizza. You're like sitting on a couch just, pizza and beer. But if you look like the Italian version of that, right? They like the Chinese, but the Italians have been eating that for years. And it can be a healthy option for your dinner or whatever, right? I'm not talking about Domino's, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, a big part is also genetically modified organisms,
right.
GMOs.
Yeah.
And so actually, and again, I'm not being paid to plug this, but take one from Fadi, but Wheat Belly by Dr. William Davis is a really good resource for explaining the science behind that.
Okay.
And it also ties into the Roundup, but it also ties into the GMO portion. And, he literally calls modern day wheat a genetic freak. So, it's a big deal, and a lot of people do really well without it.
Yep, that's what's involved in taking responsibility for your own health. You got to be on the ball here.
Yeah, as Warren said, eat closest to the ground. We are so far removed from servicing our own food, like plucking, hunting, gathering, that's all gone.
Right.
And now, very much, we don't even shop, cook. It's like, boom, it's fast food, it's ready, just swallow.
Yeah,
and move
Uber
on to the
Eats,
next
we
thing.
just sit on the couch and hit our app, and Uber Eats shows up, whatever. Yeah,
Exactly.
With Domino's. Yeah.
I bet you spend more time on Uber Eats than your fitness app.
Why are you looking at me when you say that? Yeah. So you mentioned GMO, another acronym or initial. What I like to do, speaking of Chinese, I like going to a Chinese restaurant and I'll say, "Can I get my MSG on the side?" And you get this craziest look. They're like, "Dude, we don't do MSG anymore," whatever. And you want it on the side, yeah. So. All right, so somebody mentioned, not wrapping it up, but one of the terms you mentioned earlier. But it is, we are officially out of time here, or we're overtime. We don't get paid extra for overtime, in case you're thinking about it, yeah. So folks, really enjoyed your time here on the Georgia Podcast and sharing a lot of insight, especially the roundtable. Once it got a little slow starting, but once we got rolling, man, it's like we were rock and roll. So maybe we'll do episode 2. But one more time, let's go around real quick and just give a call to action. Remind us of your, how people get in touch with you. So, sure. Dr. Cherie?
Well, again, my name is Dr. Cherie Gallant, and I am the owner and founder of Workplace Wellness. We are based here in Atlanta, Georgia. It's our pleasure to remove your pain, both physical and financial. Remember, those workers' comp costs add up, and they will eat away at your bottom line. You can contact me via email at Cherie, Cherie, at workwellforlife.com, or follow me on social media at Dr. Cherie Gallant.
You've done that before. That was very good. Yeah,
Thank you.
Very good.
Fadi topped that or whatever. Yeah.
I'll do my best. Fadi Malouf with wellplanus.com. We will help develop and customize a wellness program that will save you tons of money on healthcare from month 1 and improve your employees' health and productivity and overall happiness. Fadi Malouf with WellPlan.
Awesome. Wow. Warren?
Warren Cargill. I'm an acupuncturist at Acupuncture Atlanta, and you can reach us at acuatlanta.net. We're a large acupuncture clinic here in Buckhead.
All right, so tune in for next episode of the Georgia Podcast. Here, Rich Casanova on behalf of the Pro Business Channel Networks, signing off.